I'm not sure if you know this, but what we would call the first megachurch actually took place in Jerusalem. Now, the Bible tells us in the book of Acts that the first baptismal event following Pentecost saw some 3,000 people, getting baptized. Then we're told that God just kept on adding to the church, daily. So much so that eventually some 12,000 people would gather on a Sabbath morning to worship. Now, can you imagine 12,000 people gathering to worship in one place? It must have been amazing. But as amazing as it must have been, it actually wasn't what God wanted. You see, here's the problem. They kept on making the same mistake the Jews made. They were keeping, the gospel to themselves. Something, that God had never intended for his church. Back in the day, the temple was supposed to be a house of prayer for all people, but the Jews, they didn't allow that. And now history is repeating itself. Jesus had given clear and explicit instructions for his church to take the gospel into all the world and to share it. Now, everybody, and I mean everybody they met, every single person on the planet was supposed to receive the gospel. That was God's will. Now, don't get me wrong. They were preaching and sharing the gospel. They got that part right. But the only people they shared the gospel with was the Jews. Even when persecution forced the early Christians to go to other countries, the only people they would share the gospel with was other Jews. This attitude of a Jew-only religion was so strong that Peter actually refused to take the gospel to a Gentile family, even though he was told to do so in a vision. Only after Jesus confronts Peter through a vision involving a blanket filled with unclean animals does Peter begrudgingly witness to that family. But Peter never really got over his dislike of the Gentiles. He preferred to preach and work with the Jews. But please don't miss the point of today's lesson. You are called by God to do something for God, and that is to take this gospel into all the world. Not just the parts of the world you like or the parts that you are comfortable with or the parts you think are deserving. The gospel is for everybody or it's for nobody. The question is, are we ready and willing to take the gospel to the world? Well, that was our nugget for today. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you tomorrow.